Today we're back with my SnowBerry. There isn't much change from the last video on this. I'm hoping by now you all know that each tree I have has an individual playlist, so you can go back and watch the previous videos about each tree and watch them develop over time. And also hopefully watch my video making skills develop as well. But anyway, you can see it grew well as the roots were coming out the bottom. My plan is to repot it in spring, but before that it's going to need a good winter prune. I find mid-February is a good time to do this. Usually spring starts happening a few weeks after this, so I find it's a good time to get everything ready for spring. I'm just going through and removing any dead bits, cutting back to 2 or 3 leaves at every branch. Just a normal winter pruning. When you see this tree from the side, it's sort of flat. It hasn't got a great depth. It looks a little better when it's in full leaf, but that means nothing. It's all about when the tree is naked. So I'll have to make sure to develop some better branches going out the back. Normally I do all my winter pruning at once, but I came back a few weeks later to finish up on this tree. It's a lot easier to see now where the new buds are, so I can easily knock off buds that are in weird places like in the crotches here. This time I got rid of anything growing in the wrong way or just in weird places. And just making sure the branches only divide into 2 at each point. Basically just getting rid of all the little problems. This tree backbuds like crazy, so it's one of the few trees where I do this. I found this tree in my communal garden. I stole it from some wasps, and then I had it stolen from me by my neighbour. It was more of a raft style tree then, so it was a lot larger and wider then. It was a bit too big to ship, so I just kind of cut one end off and stuck it in this yogurt pot. I went through a lot with this tree and I didn't want to just abandon it, especially after going through all the effort to get it back. Since being over here, it's grown really well, and the little bit of wiring I did has really helped set the structure. It's meant to be deciduous, but as you see, it holds quite a lot of its leaves throughout the winter. I just leave it out all year, so it's not like it doesn't get cold enough. But then I guess it is quite mild here, so maybe that has something to do with it. So in March I repotted it. The buds were swelling, so it was the perfect time. has lots of roots, it's filled the pot, but it doesn't seem like it's too root bound. So after raking it all out, this is what I was left with. Seems to have plenty of roots coming from everywhere. They just seem a little long. It looks really healthy, so I give it a light prune. And this is what I was left with. Pretty extreme as always. These trees are pretty much indestructible, and I only do this to trees I know can take a beating, which this tree certainly can take. I want good roots in the future, and doing mad stuff like this is the only real way I'll get there any sooner. It also meant that I could pot it up in this nice little pot. I think this looks a lot better than it did when it was in that spray painted yogurt pot. In April it was leafing out and looking great. I had to add some stones to make sure it didn't blow out of the pot. I also added a light layer of sphagnum, which seems to be stuck to the side of the pot. I should probably wire my trees in, but I'm just too lazy. Normally they are fine, and a stone or two solves the problem. I absolutely love this tree, and as you can see in leaf, it isn't as flat. In June it's growing really well. I removed the stones, it's not going to move in the pot anymore. By July it's done really well and it's time for a trim. I'm just taking every branch back to 2 or 3 sets of leaves. There should be enough time left this summer to get a second flush of growth, which will increase its ramification. I think this tree is going to be something special in a few years. It seems to respond really well to being pruned. It grows where I want, then usually sends a bunch of extra shoots out as well. I took it back quite hard here, but this tree won't mind. As you can see, a few weeks later and it had bounced right back. It bounced back so much that only 4 weeks after pruning it, I was back to pruning it again. I have no recollection of doing this, but it clearly happened. It looks like it's at that sort of stage where I could have left it, but could have pruned it. It's getting a bit on the season, so I'm surprised I trimmed it. But then I wasn't really with it throughout the month of August. is probably a well needed distraction. And as I've said before, this tree can take a beating, so it's not going to get too upset about this. Again, I'm just trimming back all the shoots to 2 or 3 leaves. I think it's looking pretty good. By September, the growing season is pretty much over and it's looking fine. You can see in October it managed to put a little bit of growth on and it looks very healthy. Here it is in November. I'm really happy with its progress this year. Hopefully it will do just as well next year. Thanks for watching. See you next time.